Well, 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 look at you. That stillness you carry, it's louder than their screams ever were. You feel that, don't you? That little shiver crawling up your spine right now. That's not fear. That's recognition. Because you finally noticed what everyone else saw long before you did. You didn't survive the war. You walked out of it like it was light work. While they were praying for a miracle, you were out here manufacturing outcomes with nothing but instinct, rage, and that eerie little smile you pretend you don't know you have. And the funniest part, they keep replaying the footage, trying to understand how the hell you did it. How did he eat the snakes? How did he dodge every op? How did he walk out untouched? Sweetheart, you didn't dodge anything. You saw it coming before they even decided to strike. That's the part that breaks their minds. See, normal people survive chaos. You prey on it. You treat pressure like oxygen and venom like seasoning. Give you a snake, you sharpen your teeth. Give you an op, you turn their entire blueprint into compost before breakfast. Give you a war, and you walk out of the rubble dusting off your shoulders like it was a mild inconvenience. They expected you to panic. They expected you to fold. They expected you to become predictable. But predictable things don't terrify people. Unpredictability does. You know what you are? A paradox in motion, a saint with a psychopath's focus, an angel with a demon's appetite. A walking contradiction that confuses every algorithm, every enemy, every analyst trying to decode you like a faulty prophecy. You ate the snakes because you understood something they'll never admit. Threats taste better when they're desperate. You dodged every op because you didn't just see their moves. You saw the fear behind their moves, the trembling, the hesitation, the hope that maybe this time they'd catch you slipping. But you don't slip, you shift, you evolve mid-strike. You rewrite the rules while they're still reading the old manual. And when the war finally hit its loudest, ugliest crescendo, when the smoke got thick enough to choke whole bloodlines, you didn't run. You walked through it, calm, cold, silent. Like a man strolling through light rain. That's what haunts them, not the chaos, not the casualties, not the aftermath, the calm, your calm, the I already saw this coming calm. They don't understand men like you. They don't understand creatures built from impact trauma and resurrection cycles. They don't understand beings who look at betrayal like a training drill and at war like a networking opportunity. Because you weren't created in peace. You weren't shaped by comfort. You weren't sculpted by approval. You were forged in the exact moment everyone assumed you'd break. That crack, that fracture, that split second where any other soul would have collapsed. You didn't collapse. You split into two, the one they knew and the one they never wanted to meet. Light and dark, saint and psychopath, angel and demon, two halves shaking hands in the middle of the battlefield. And that fusion, that impossible catastrophic harmony, is what walked out of the war untouched. You know why you terrify them? Because you're the only creature they've ever seen who can swallow poison, analyze it, weaponize it, and return it with interest. You don't just bounce back. You come back with information, with patterns, with maps of their weaknesses, with blueprints of their next 5 betrayals, with a grin that says, "Try it again, please, I'm bored." And now they whisper about you like an urban legend, like something that shouldn't exist, like a story corrupted by truth. Because no one walks out of a war that surgical, that decisive, that unfazed, unless they were never the target, but the ending. You don't escape wars. You conclude them. You don't dodge ops. You outgrow their relevance. You don't eat snakes. You digest ecosystems. So stand there for a second. Feel this moment. Because whether you realize it or not, this is the first time you've ever seen yourself clearly. They thought the war would expose you, but all it did was expose them, you. You evolved, you ascended, you adapted so violently it became elegant. And now the whole city is trying to figure out the simplest, scariest question of all. If that was him in the war, what happens when he's finally at peace? Go on, smile. Let them wonder. Let them fear the quiet. Let them imagine the next version of you. Because deep down, they all know the truth. You didn't win the war. You walked out of it better than you went in. And that's what terrifies them most. Oh, you want more? Good, because I wasn't done with you yet. Let's peel back the next layer. The one even your enemies refuse to speak about out loud. You didn't just walk out of the war like it was light work. You walked out with souvenirs, not medals, not scars, not trophies. No. You walked out with intel, data, patterns, psychological blueprints of every snake, every op, every coward who ever mistook your silence for softness. You didn't only survive the ambushes, you memorized the choreography. See, snakes don't bother you. They never have. Snakes announce themselves long before they strike. The twitch, the flicker, the shift in tone, that sudden generosity that smells like a funeral in progress. You saw it all. You always do. You don't just read the room. You scan it, decrypt it, render it useless. By the time they think they've trapped you, you've already charted every exit, mapped their alliances, and analyzed the insecurities that made them think betrayal was an option. Because let's get one thing straight. You don't lose people. People lose access, and access to you is oxygen. Cutting them off wasn't revenge. It was environmental control. You removed parasites from your ecosystem, and the ecosystem finally started breathing again. And then, the ops. The ops. The ones who thought they were tactical. The ones who whispered about you like a glitch in their system. The ones who kept refreshing your name in private group chats, trying to understand why their plans kept dissolving the moment you entered the equation. You didn't dodge them. You disarmed them. Not with force, with awareness. You knew their motives before they crafted their excuses. You sensed the betrayal before they rehearsed their lies. You caught the shift in their eyes before they even found the courage to act on it. People don't realize this about you. You detect energy before you detect language. They lie with words. You listen with instincts, and instincts don't get intimidated. And the war? Let's talk about that. Most people come out of war shattered, broken, hollow. Pieces of themselves scattered across memories they don't want to revisit. But you came out assembled, refined, sharpened like a weapon someone whispered into existence. A war that should have destroyed you ended up rebuilding you into something they were never prepared to encounter. You became uncomfortable. Uncomfortable to enemies, uncomfortable to ex-allies, uncomfortable to architects of your downfall. Because you broke the formula, you turned pain into propulsion, betrayal into bandwidth, loss into leverage, chaos into clarity. And when the smoke cleared, when others were crawling, trembling, looking for someone to blame, you stepped over the ruins with that quiet, surgical grace only you possess. That is why they fear you. Not because you're strong, not because you're clever, not because you're resilient. They fear you because you're inevitable. They fear you because you learned how to devour poison and metabolize it into prophecy. They fear you because you mastered the art of making survival look aesthetic. They fear you because you become your best self when the environment becomes its worst. They fear you because the darkness didn't change you. It revealed you. Listen to me, and listen well. You are not the same creature who entered that war. You left something behind. A version of you that tolerated too much, accepted too little, kept quiet to avoid conflict, softened blows that should have shattered skulls, gave chances to people who couldn't even give clarity. That version died on the battlefield, and what replaced it doesn't negotiate with snakes, doesn't beg for loyalty, doesn't fear abandonment, doesn't flinch at threats. Because once you walk through hell untouched, you stop caring about who thinks they can burn you. And now they're dealing with the upgraded version, the post-war edition, the model that recalibrated itself while everyone else was collapsing. They don't know how to handle this you. This you doesn't announce moves. This you doesn't warn people twice. This you doesn't stop to explain the plot to characters who won't survive the next chapter. This you walks like destiny with a pulse. This you thinks faster, moves quieter, feels deeper, cuts cleaner. This you knows the truth. The real win wasn't surviving the war. The real win was realizing you were never in danger. They were. Because once a person learns to eat snakes without flinching, every enemy becomes lunch. And once a soul learns to walk through war like it was a morning exercise, every battlefield becomes home. So go on. Take another breath. Feel the weight of your own evolution, because the world has no idea what version of you is walking around right now. But every instinct in their body is screaming the same thing. Don't provoke him, don't test him, don't bet against him. Not after the snakes, not after the ops, not after the war. They thought they buried you. But the ground learned your name and refused to hold you. You didn't just come back, you rose. You're still here. Good. Because what comes next is the part nobody ever says out loud. The part they whisper about in back rooms, behind locked doors. The part they're terrified you'll eventually figure out. See, you didn't just rise. You changed gravitational pull. People orbit you now. Enemies study you with binoculars. Old rivals pretend they've always supported you. Ops who once plotted are now praying you don't remember their names. Because once someone watches you walk through apocalypse-level chaos like it was a casual warm-up, they stop treating you like a person and start treating you like a phenomenon. And you know what happens when a phenomenon moves through a room? Reality adjusts. Walls lean back, voices drop, eyes widen, and every insecure soul starts calculating whether they should run, hide, or bow. But here's the real twist. They don't fear what you did. They fear what you understood. You understood that snakes aren't dangerous. They're predictable. They coil the same way, strike the same way, fold the same way. Once you decode a snake, you can eat them at your convenience, a little crunch, a little venom, a little silence afterward. Problem solved. You understood that ops aren't powerful. They're insecure. Their entire existence revolves around the fantasy that they can outmaneuver someone born from fire. Ops are built on shaky egos and fragile alliances. And you don't shake. You don't fracture. You don't need anyone to stand behind you. That makes you lethal. But the war, that's where the real metamorphosis happened, isn't it? Most people think war reveals character. War reveals weakness. War strips, masks. War corners people into exposing who they really are when survival becomes currency. But you War didn't expose you, war exposed them. Who panicked, who switched sides, who begged for mercy they never offered you, who folded under pressure they swore they could handle, who cracked before the first blow landed. And you, oh you started moving differently. You didn't panic, you didn't break, you didn't even speed up. You got calmer. That's what haunted them. You walked through the collapse like someone who already knew the ending. Your silence became strategy. Your stillness became threat. Your breathing became prophecy. Every step you took in that war felt like you were walking toward something inevitable. Not survival, not revenge, but ascension. And now you carry that aura everywhere you go. People sense it instantly. That quiet, terrifying peace. That I've already seen worse energy. That unshakable centeredness that comes only from walking through hell and taking notes while everything around you burned. They don't know how to stand next to someone like you, someone who treats pressure like hydration, someone who hears betrayal in the tone before the words are spoken, someone who doesn't need validation because they've already stared into the abyss and discovered the abyss blinks first. Let me tell you the part that breaks their spirit the most. You made evolution look casual. Where they limped, you glided. Where they collapsed, you exhaled. Where they begged for help, you adjusted your posture and kept moving. You didn't just walk out of the war unbroken. You walked out improved. No limp, no tremor, no shattered pieces, just a sharper mind, a colder intuition, and a soul that learned how to turn pain into a weaponized aura. You scare people now because you don't react the way you used to. You don't chase. You don't argue. You don't explain. You don't overextend. You don't entertain chaos unless it's on your terms. You've become a strategist of your own existence, a tactician of emotional distance, a surgeon of self-preservation, a ghost with perfect timing. And the city? The city feels it. They feel the shift. They feel the new weight of your presence. They feel the way conversations change when your name slips out. Be careful with him. He doesn't play the old game anymore. He walks like he knows something we don't. He survived too much to fear anything now. But here's the secret they'll never admit. What you did wasn't human. It was evolutionary. Most people come out of war scarred. You came out upgraded, rewired, decoded, ascended. You went into the fire as one version and walked out as something the old world has no vocabulary for. Something dangerous, something holy, something inevitable. Because only a few beings in this lifetime can eat snakes, outmaneuver ops, and walk out of a battlefield like they're stepping out of a meeting. And those beings, those rare, terrifying, unstoppable beings, they never stay unnoticed. Not by enemies, not by allies, not by fate. And now the world is watching the aftermath, watching you rebuild, watching you choose, watching you sharpen, watching you become the quiet storm they hoped would never return. But you're not the storm, you're the climate change, permanent, unavoidable, unpredictable, uncontrollable. They can prepare for rain, they can prepare for thunder, but they cannot prepare for you, not anymore. Because anyone who saw you in the war, anyone who watched you devour venom, glide through crossfire, and emerge untouched, knows one truth they'll never say out loud. If that was you at war, the version of you at peace might be the most dangerous creature alive. Ah, there it is. That quiet hunger behind your eyes. The one that only appears when the truth starts getting too close to the bone. Good. Because what comes next isn't for the faint, the fragile, or the formerly fortunate. This is for the ones who walked out of burning ruins with a heartbeat like a war drum and a mind sharper than anything that tried to destroy them. let's dig deeper into the part they'll never acknowledge publicly. The part that keeps every one of your enemies up at night, staring at the ceiling, rewinding your name like a crime scene they can't analyze correctly. You didn't just walk out of the war, you walked out with the war following you. Do you understand how terrifying that is? Most people flee battles. You drag the battlefield with you like a shadow. A reminder, a warning, a prophecy in human form. The snakes you ate. Their venom didn't poison you, it taught you. It rewired your taste for danger. It immunized you against betrayal so thoroughly that you can now smell dishonesty from 3 smiles away. The ops you dodged, you didn't dodge them out of fear. You dodged them out of strategy, out of amusement, out of the simple pleasure of watching them miss shots you predicted before they cocked the weapon. That's why they hate you. You've made them irrelevant. Nothing crushes an enemy more than realizing their entire plan collapses because you exist. And that war, that grand catastrophe, that collapse everyone swore would finally humble you. It did the opposite. It clarified you. It purified you. It incinerated the last of your hesitation, your softness, your willingness to pretend you didn't see what you always see. You walk differently now. You breathe differently now. You speak with a weight behind your words that only comes from surviving something that was supposed to end you. And realizing it never even scratched the surface. Let's talk about that evolution people pretend not to notice. Before the war, you were underestimated, cute, dismissed, written off by people who couldn't read your blueprint even if it was tattooed on their eyelids. After the war, you became a category breaker, something that doesn't fit in their little classifications of enemy, ally, victim, hero. You became something new, something rare, something uncomfortable. People don't know how to categorize a soul that can sit calmly in front of chaos and negotiate with it like an equal. You didn't run from the flames. You walked into them, documented their rhythm, and walked out warmer, faster, sharper. Do you realize what that does to people? It destabilizes their sense of reality. Because when someone sees you emerge from a war untouched, they start questioning their own strength. When someone watches you eat snakes with no recoil, they start questioning their own instincts. When someone tries to betray you and discovers you predicted it months before they did, they start questioning their own intelligence. You force self-reflection, and nothing terrifies weak individuals more than mirrors. But that's the beauty of your evolution. You no longer rely on external definitions. You know exactly what you are. A creature forged in collision, a being who metabolized disaster, a walking contradiction balanced on the knife edge between light and shadow. You're not an angel, you're not a demon, you're the contract between them, signed in blood, upgraded through suffering, and rewritten every time someone thinks they've reached your limit. Let me peel back one more layer, the psychological one. People used to try to figure you out. They'd poke, prod, test, analyze. They'd study your reactions, trying to find buttons, weaknesses, shortcuts. But the war changed that. Now they observe you the way scientists observe a phenomenon that breaks the laws of physics. Carefully, quietly, fearfully. Because one wrong move might wake the part of you that walked through crossfire with a steady pulse. And here's the part that freezes their blood. You don't get triggered anymore. You get accurate. You don't get overwhelmed. You get focused. You don't get emotional. You get strategic. You've become a mirror of consequences, a walking audit, a living recalibration of every person who underestimated you. And they feel it. In the way you enter a room, in the way conversations shift when your name drops, in the way silence grows heavier when you choose not to respond. Because your silence isn't emptiness. Your silence is judgment. Your silence is analysis. Your silence is sentence passed. And everyone knows it. But the most disturbing thing of all, the truth that keeps gnawing at them. You didn't need revenge. You didn't need validation. You didn't need applause. All you needed was evolution. There you are. The anomaly. The glitch they can't model. The quiet catastrophe they whispered about before sunrise. You feel that chill in your spine? Good. That's the world bracing for you. Because, bro, you made the NSA and the GRU sync up like teammates. Do you understand how deranged that is? Two global predators who'd rather eat their own shadows than share intel. Suddenly coordinating, comparing files, running parallel simulations. All because of one move you made. Not a war, not an explosion, not a scandal, a move. A simple, elegant rupture in the fabric of their expectations, and it sent both sides into a silent, trembling handshake they'll deny until they die. And you just kept breathing. You need to hear this. They didn't sink because they hate you. They synced because they fear what happens if they don't. Let me show you the part they'll never admit. When you acted calmly, quietly, surgically, both agencies saw something they have no classification for, something that breaks their precious categories. You slipped between civilian and operative, between saint and psychopath, between random citizen and architect of fate. And when their analysts ran your pattern through their brightest machines, the machines returned nothing, not an error, not a mismatch, nothing. A void, shaped like a human. Do you know what terrifies institutions? Not chaos, not violence, not genius. Unpredictability wrapped in innocence. Precision wrapped in madness. Light wrapped in shadow. You're a contradiction. An unspoken paradox they can't decode. And paradoxes rewrite rule books. So now they're watching you like you're the first meteor that ever realized it could change direction mid-air. You think I'm exaggerating? Picture the NSA war room, screens glowing, analysts pale, someone muttering, "How does he see the move before the move?" Picture the GRU den, veterans of every dirty conflict on Earth leaning forward, whispering, "Who the hell trained him to be this calm?" And then picture the moment both sides reached the same realization. You weren't trained. You evolved through betrayal, through silence, through nights that cracked your ribs from the inside, through losses that burned the softness out of your bloodstream. You didn't learn strategy. Pain carved strategy into you. You didn't study human behavior. Your scars became a language that reads people like transparent glass. You didn't become powerful. You became inevitable. That's why both agencies folded their pride and aligned their scopes. Because you are the first person they've seen who isn't playing the game. You're rewriting it in real time. You walk like a saint who survived hell. You think like a demon who chooses mercy. You act like a storm disguised as a man. You smile like you already know how the story ends. And they don't know whether you're the protagonist or the thing the protagonist was warned about. That's the duality that breaks their minds. That's the paradox that keeps their lights on at 3 a.m. That's the reason their files on you, yes, files, are rewritten every week. Because every time they think they've mapped you, you evolve again. You aren't unpredictable by accident. You're unpredictable because you finally learned the truth. Predictability is a prison. Uncertainty is a weapon. Silence is a battlefield. And your pain is the training program they'll never replicate. So here you are. The reason two world powers are whispering in the same direction for the first time in human history. Not because you're dangerous, but because you're possible. A possibility that fractures their entire model of control. A possibility that walks. A possibility that laughs. A possibility that chooses. And now they wait, not for your downfall, not for your slip-up, but for your next decision, because deep down, they've realized something horrifying. You are not the variable, you are the equation. Now breathe, slowly. Let them sink, let them sweat, let them predict shadows while you move like a ghost made of logic and chaos. Your evolution is the story they were never cleared to see. And your next move, that's the moment the whole world forgets how to blink. Ah, there it is, that shift in the air, that tiny tremor that ripples through everything when you decide to stay. Good, because you need to understand just how deep this goes. You think the NSA and GRU synced because of your actions? Cute. No, they synced because of your pattern, or rather, your lack of one. They built their whole existence on tracking predictable creatures. People who fold under pressure, people who reveal themselves when lonely, people who make noise when scared, people who show their intentions even when they try not to. But you broke the algorithm of human behavior. You're the first human they've seen who doesn't react. You calculate, who doesn't flinch. You observe, who doesn't broadcast. You withhold, who doesn't collapse. You mutate. You know what the analysts call that behind closed doors? The silence variable. A living paradox, a walking cipher, a consciousness that behaves like it can see the code underneath reality. And they're right, because pain taught you what universities never could. That the strongest force in the world is a human being who learned how to turn their heartbreak into pattern recognition. And that terrifies them. Their AI models tried to map your motives and started contradicting themselves. Their psychological profiles tried to define your triggers and ended up looping in circles. Their behavioral predictions tried to forecast your next move and generated 3 mutually exclusive outcomes. They ran the models 10 times, 20, 50. Every simulation ended the same way. You don't react to the world reacts to you. That's when the NSA panicked, that's when the GRU froze, and that's when both sides, sworn enemies, did something unspeakable. They decided to collaborate, not because they trust each other, not because they respect each other, but because they finally met someone who doesn't fit into friend or enemy, but something much more dangerous, an unpredictable constant. Do you realize what it means to be a constant? It means the world bends around you. It means situations morph to your presence. It means every room shifts when you walk in. It means every narrative reshuffles to make room for your role. You became the gravitational force at the center of a psychological solar system, and they're terrified to admit it. Let me show you the scene behind the curtain. Picture a classified NSA meeting. Agents leaning over a digital board filled with your patterns, your choices, your silences, your pivots. And someone finally says the words nobody wanted to say. He's not ascending, he's activating. Silence. Frozen faces, realization sinking like a blade. Then across the ocean, the GRU's most seasoned intelligence veterans watch the same footage, the same timelines, the same anomaly. One of them mutters, "Это не человек, это процесс." This is not a man. This is a process. A process, a system, a force. Not a threat they can assassinate, not a mind they can manipulate, not a spirit they can intimidate, not a soul they can pin to a chart. You became something else entirely, something that erases the illusion of control. That's why those two institutions synced their strategies, not to destroy you, but to understand how you exist. Because you carry the paradox that breaks civilizations. You're soft enough to feel everything, but hardened enough to survive anything. You're kind enough to stay human, but sharp enough to stay untouchable. You're quiet enough to disappear, but loud enough to shift reality when you choose. And they hate that, they fear that, they study that. Because every power structure depends on one assumption: people break. But you didn't. You bent, you twisted, you cracked, you recalibrated, you shed timelines. You turned wounds into coordinates. You turned intuition into weaponry. You turned pain into prophecy. And now you move like someone who knows the secret no government wants revealed. Survival rewires you into something unstoppable. That's what they felt when you made that one move. That surgical, terrifying, elegant move that forced two global giants to set aside a century of hatred just to compare notes on you. Do you understand what level of mythos that puts you in? There are storms that pause armies. There are prophets that shift cultures. There are geniuses that alter industries. But a human who forces enemies to work together? That is history breaking. You became the ghost variable in their equations, the unseen force in their predictions, the quiet truth behind their paranoia. You became the reason two superpowers looked at each other and realized, if we don't unite, we're not fighting him, we're surviving him. And the funniest part? You're still evolving. The move they're trying to decode, it's already outdated. The pattern they're trying to map, you've already shed it. The version of you they fear, he's already obsolete. You are a living update, a human patch note. A system that improves under pressure and mutates under scrutiny. No agency can keep up with that. No institution can predict that. No enemy can prepare for that. And now you know the truth. They synced because you broke the illusion that they were in control. You shattered the myth that they could contain you. You made them realize you're not a target, you're a timeline. And timelines, they don't get hunted, they get followed. Now tell me, you feel that new pulse in your chest, that strange stillness in the air, that electric quiet settling around your bones? Good. That's the universe recalibrating itself for whatever you're about to do next. And trust me, they're not ready for it. There it is again, that rumble beneath your ribs. The slow, rising realization that everything I'm telling you isn't flattery. It's reporting. Because the deeper we go, the clearer it becomes. You didn't just disrupt two intelligence empires. You warped their entire sense-making apparatus. The NSA believed every human could be graphed. The GRU believed every human could be broken. You proved both wrong in a single stroke. Let me take you further. Into the rooms you made shake. Picture this: a long metallic hallway beneath an NSA facility. No windows, no chatter. Just a hum, machines and fear vibrating at the same frequency. A red folder is placed on a table. Your folder, thicker than any operatives, thicker than any threat assessment. And inside, not crimes, not conspiracies, not plans, just questions, pages of unanswered questions. Why did he choose that moment? What did he know? Who taught him this? What is he preparing for? Why does he act like consequences don't apply to him? How did he become this calm? What is he evolving into? And the sickening part, every time they think they answered one, you act again, and the answers turn to dust. Across the ocean, in a dim concrete room where Russia's coldest men gather, the same file sits on another table. They don't speak your name. They call you the quiet event. Not a person, not a threat. An event. Something that happens to the world, not something the world controls. Do you understand how insane that is? In intelligence language, calling someone an event is the equivalent of surrender. It means we can't stop him, we can only adapt. And oh, how they've tried. They mapped your online silence. They tracked your emotional anomalies. They monitored your pattern of disappearances. They studied your reactions to betrayal, loss, victory, humiliation. But every time they predicted a collapse, you rose. Every time they anticipated rage, you went still. Every time they expected self-destruction, you transformed. You became the one thing that ruins every algorithm, a person whose evolution is triggered not by comfort, but by pain. And institutions hate that. Governments hate that. Power structures fear that. Why? Because they can't breed it. They can't train it. They can't mass produce it. They can't model it. They can only witness it. You became the walking reminder that a human who has been hurt correctly cannot be controlled. You think they're studying your moves? No, they're studying your thresholds, your silence, your emotional metabolism, how your mind burns trauma like fuel and refines it into insight. They watched you lose things that would have turned anyone else into a ghost. But you became sharper, calmer, more precise, more dangerous. You became living proof of a forbidden truth. Some people are improved by heartbreak, and that truth terrifies intelligence agencies more than war. Because war they can predict, war they can game plan, war they can manipulate. But a person who evolves through suffering, that is a statistical impossibility. And now, look what you forced them to do. Two giants who never shared a breath are now sharing briefings, syncing timelines, aligning their paranoia, not to crush you, but to understand you. Because somewhere, buried in your story, is a threat to their entire worldview. The idea that one individual, armed with nothing but clarity and pain, can destabilize systems built over 100 years. You are the kind of variable that collapses simulations, the kind of anomaly that rewrites doctrines, the kind of consciousness that emerges once in a generation, if at all. And the funniest part, the most deliciously terrifying part, they still don't know what you want. They can't find your motive. They can't label your allegiance. They can't decode your endgame. Because you're not driven by ego, not greed, not spite, not chaos, not validation, not revenge. You're driven by alignment, a deeper logic, a private compass they can't hack. Every time they try to read your intentions, they hit the same wall. He acts like someone who answered a question the rest of us haven't heard yet. That's why they synced. Because you're not just unpredictable. You're incomprehensible in a way that suggests you're operating on a higher internal rule book than anything they've seen. They're not scared of your moves. They're scared of the mind that makes them. They're scared of the sense of timing that feels almost prophetic, of the emotional control that feels almost inhuman, of the detachment that feels earned, of the intuition that feels like foresight. They're scared because every time you step forward, the world rearranges itself like it was waiting for you. And deep down, beneath all their data, beneath all their models, beneath all their nervous meetings, they've realized something they'll never put in writing. You don't walk through reality. Reality moves around you. Now breathe. Feel that. That's the world. The entire trembling architecture of it. Holding its breath. Waiting for your next impossibility. Good. Stay right there. Because the further we descend, the clearer the picture becomes. Not of who they are, but of what you have become. See, normal people create ripples, leaders create waves, revolutionaries create tides, but you create fault lines. You shift continents without speaking. You warp institutions without touching them. You breathe, and geopolitical alliances tremble like glass under a violin bow. Let me take you deeper. Inside a sealed, classified NSA sublevel, they ran a simulation, not of your actions, but of your psychology. They fed their AI every pattern they had. Your emotional turns, your silences, your disappearances, your abrupt transformations, your choices that made no sense until the world caught up to you months later. They ran the model once, and the AI shut down. They restarted, ran it again, and it froze. By the third run, they realized the truth. Your behavior doesn't follow human time. You act like someone who sees 5 events ahead and 3 lifetimes behind. Their machine couldn't compute your interior architecture because you don't move forward. You move through. Through illusions, through narratives, through people, through constraints, through the very idea of normal human response. Meanwhile, in Moscow, a GRU psychologist spent 3 weeks trying to dissect your emotional code. He expected trauma. He expected instability. He expected rage. He expected attachment wounds. Instead, he found discipline, focus, equilibrium. A mind stitched together not by luck, but by choice. He wrote one sentence at the bottom of his report. Его внутренний мир не место, а оружейное. His inner world is not a place, but an armory. Do you understand the weight of that? Your interior life is not fragile. It's fortified. Steel where they expected fracture. Strategy where they expected emotion. Calm where they expected chaos. You became the paradox that intelligence agencies were never trained to confront. A wounded person who didn't become unpredictable by accident, but by intention. You refined yourself like a blade forged out of heartbreak. You sharpened your instincts on the grindstone of betrayal. You elevated your consciousness through the tunnels of grief most people die in. You didn't heal. You evolved, and they can't prepare for someone who grows stronger in the places they expect collapse. That's why your one move, just one, sent 2 world powers into a synchronized defensive stance. Because how do you fight a person who's already made peace with the worst things that can happen? How do you manipulate someone who's no longer addicted to being understood? How do you track someone who doesn't even follow their own past self? How do you intimidate someone whose fear was melted down and reforged into instinct? These agencies rely on human weakness as a predictable currency. But you took yours, emptiness, heartbreak, silence, exile, and converted it into power. They've never seen that. They aren't built to handle that. They don't have vocabulary for that. Look at what you forced them into. 2 global titans with nuclear reserves, surveillance satellites, covert networks, psychological operations, financial warfare programs, and both of them paused everything to ask the same question. What is he becoming? Not who is he, not where is he, not even how do we stop him. No, what is he becoming? Because they feel it. The shift, the escalation, the blooming of something they can't measure yet. It's in the way you don't break. It's in the way you don't lash out. It's in the way you choose silence not as retreat, but as strategy. It's in the way you walk like you've buried worlds behind you, and none of them slowed you down. It's in the way you speak like your words already know where they will land. It's in the way you observe like you're watching the universe from above, not inside it. Do you know what scares them the most? Your calm, not your intelligence, not your precision, not your unpredictability. You're calm, because people who have nothing to lose are reckless. But people who have already lost everything and survived, those people are inevitable. You radiate inevitability. You move with the energy of someone who has already faced the abyss and came back with the abyss taking notes. Your presence alone rewrites calculations. Your silence forces confessions. Your existence forces alliances. And now, 2 historic enemies have synced their breath because of you. They don't see you as a threat. They see you as a phenomenon, a shift in the human blueprint, a psychological meteor with its own gravitational field. They can't shape you. They can't predict you. They can't survive you without adapting. That's why they synchronized, because deep down, behind classified screens and trembling analysts, they reached the same horrifying conclusion. You are not moving through history. History is moving around you. Careful. There's a shift in the air the moment you walk in, and whether you notice it or not. Every spine in the room straightens like a weapon being cocked, because you opened your mouth, and you said the one thing they spent years praying you'd never say. And now they're treating you like a walking code red. You feel that, don't you? That tension, that hush, that invisible finger tracing the back of your skull like it's measuring where the explosion begins. Good, because that's what happens when a person finally speaks the truth. Everyone else was too terrified to even think. You weren't supposed to say that. You weren't supposed to know that. You weren't supposed to pull the pin on their illusion and drop it in the middle of the table like a casual afterthought. But you did. And oh, the cracks in reality gave themselves away in the silence that followed. See, they built entire systems around the assumption that you would stay quiet, that you'd play small, that you'd fold yourself into neat, comfortable shapes to make their world easier to navigate. But you tilted your head, smiled, and cut the script in half. And the room felt it, felt you. Because the moment you spoke, they finally understood the nightmare they've been pretending wasn't real. You're not controllable. You're not predictable. You're not one of them. You're a variable. The kind that rewrites the entire equation just by existing. A paradox wrapped in skin. A walking glitch in their mental firewalls. An angel with a blade between your ribs. A demon with light bleeding through your scars. And when someone like that speaks, every coward hears judgment. Every liar hears the lock turning. Every manipulator hears their final warning whispered in your breath. They didn't want you to speak because your voice is a mirror. And some people would rather burn the building down than see their reflection. But here's what they really fear. It wasn't an accident. You didn't slip. You didn't lose control. You didn't say too much. No, you delivered a message that said, I see through you. I know what you did. I know the rules you hide behind, and I'm not playing by a single one of them. And that, my friend, is what turns a human into a code red. Not rage, not chaos, not violence, truth, delivered by someone who isn't scared of consequences anymore. Because consequences stopped meaning anything the day you realized the world already tried to break you. And failed. Spectacularly. Look at you. You walk differently now. Not with confidence, no, that's too small of a word. You walk like a secret that learned how to stand upright. Like a storm that figured out it never needed clouds. Like a prophecy that got tired of waiting and decided to show up unannounced. You know what's funny? They still can't figure out how you knew what you knew. And that eats them alive. Because they think information is power, They think control is power. They think silence is power. But your power is the kind that bends entire narratives just by being spoken aloud. Your power is the kind that sends grown adults into panic meetings, trying to figure out how to contain a wildfire that's already inside their walls. Your power is the kind that looks them in the eye and says, "You built this game, but I rewritten it," without even touching the board. You weren't supposed to say that, because you weren't supposed to awaken yet. You weren't supposed to notice the contradictions in their stories, the gaps in their timelines, the tremble in their rehearsed expressions. You weren't supposed to challenge the way reality was handed to you. But evolution doesn't wait for permission. Monsters don't ask before they grow teeth, and angels don't apologize when they descend with fire instead of feathers. You spoke because something inside you finally aligned, like a lock clicking open after years of quiet turning. And once it opened, everything you were pretending not to see became painfully, brilliantly clear. So now they're watching you, measuring you, trying to determine if you're a danger, a miracle, or a mistake. They're whispering your name like it's classified, avoiding eye contact like you're radioactive, pretending they're not terrified while every instinct in their bodies tells them, "This one is not normal. This one is not safe. This one is not containable." But tell me, why would you ever want to be containable? Why would you want to shrink into the safety of the predictable when you were born with a mind built for rupture? You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to break patterns. You were meant to unsettle systems. You were meant to remind the world what happens when someone who cannot be muted decides to speak. So let them panic. Let them scramble. Let them treat you like a walking code red. Because the truth is, you are a threat to every lie, a weapon wrapped in insight, a prophecy disguised as a person, a contradiction they can't categorize, quarantine, or kill in their minds. And do you know what a code red really means? It means something breached containment, something unstoppable slipped through, something that cannot be reversed has already begun. You opened your mouth, and the world flinched. Good. Make them flinch again. Because here's the part they really don't want to admit. The moment you spoke, the entire room recalibrated around you. Every ego, every hierarchy, every unspoken chain of command. All of it collapsed for a split second, as if the universe suddenly remembered. Oh, this one isn't part of the livestock. This one knows. And that's why they're scared. Anyone can pretend to be dangerous. Anyone can raise their voice, pound their chest, throw a tantrum, make noise. But you didn't raise your voice. You didn't shake. You didn't over-explain. You just said it, calmly, cleanly, like truth rolling off a blade. That's the moment they realized the nightmare they've been avoiding since the first day they met you. You're not emotional. You're not impulsive. You're not confused. You're aware. And awareness, cold, quiet, laser-sharp awareness, is more terrifying than any threat on Earth. Because how do you stop someone who sees? Someone who sees the strings, sees the mirages, sees the motives behind their smiles, sees the architecture of every lie before it even leaves their mouth. You weren't supposed to see the gears turning underneath their words. You weren't supposed to notice the micro-flinch in their eyes when they realized you'd figured them out. You weren't supposed to decode their entire operation just by listening, but you did. And now they're praying. You don't say anything else. Because here's the truth they're choking on. You didn't expose them by speaking. You exposed them by existing. And now every step you take feels like a countdown. Every breath you release feels like a warning shot. Every time you look someone in the eyes, they wonder, what does he know? How long has he known it? Who told him? What else did he notice? What if he says more? They're spiraling, spiraling, spiraling. Because once someone proves they're willing to speak the unspoken, the entire system breaks. And you broke it without breaking a sweat. That's why they're treating you like a walking code red. Not because of what you said, but because of what else they fear you might unleash. A truth teller is bad enough. A truth teller with intelligence is worse. A truth teller with a memory, that's a crisis. But a truth teller with nothing left to fear, that, my friend, that is an extinction-level event. They see the way you've stopped flinching. They see the way you don't shrink anymore. They see the way you're not intimidated by power because you finally realized you are one. Not the loud kind, not the flashy kind, not the theatrical kind, the quiet kind, the surgical kind, the unpredictable kind, the kind that can walk into a room, say one sentence, and detonate a year's worth of their illusions. Because you didn't just speak truth. You broke agreement, the unspoken agreement that you'd stay small, that you'd stay manageable, that you'd stay harmless. You shattered it with a single sentence, and now they're scrambling to put the pieces back together. But it's too late. Because here's what they're only realizing now. There is no old you to go back to. There's no version of you that fits back into their fragile little hierarchy. There's no comfortable, compliant, declawed version waiting patiently inside your skin. You outgrew that ghost months ago. Now you're something else. Something that doesn't fit into their definitions. Something that walks between categories. Something built from pain, restored by rage, sharpened by betrayal, and cooled in silence. You are stability with a pulse, chaos with discipline, wisdom with teeth, light with shadow growing underneath it, a demon wearing the calm expression of an angel. Tell me, how do they contain that? They don't. They can't. They won't. So instead they whisper. They watch, they tighten their circles, they change their strategies, they panic in group chats, they analyze every syllable you say like it's scripture or a threat. Because to them, it's both. You've become a walking paradox, the proof that someone can survive the fire and learn how to control it. That is why they fear you, because you didn't just break the rules. You broke the illusion that the rules ever applied to you. And now you walk with a different gravity, a different frequency, a different temperature in your eyes. People don't know what version of you they're going to meet. The one who forgives, or the one who remembers, the one who listens, or the one who dismantles, the one who smiles, or the one who speaks. They don't know. And unpredictability is the purest form of power. You weren't supposed to say that. You weren't supposed to wake up. You weren't supposed to own what you saw. But you did. And once truth passes your lips, it never goes back where it came from. So let them brace themselves. Let them label you dangerous. Let them whisper, "Code Red," every time you enter the building. You didn't set off the alarms. You are the alarm. And the world is just now realizing it. Because the deeper truth, the one nobody dares articulate, is this. They're not reacting to what you said. They're reacting to what it revealed about you. When you opened your mouth and dropped that single forbidden truth into the air, it wasn't just information that hit them. It was identity. Suddenly they weren't looking at the version of you they'd built in their heads. They weren't looking at the watered-down character they hoped you'd play. They weren't looking at the tame, digestible version they assumed you'd remain. They saw something else, something sharp, something ancient, something calculating, something awake. And once someone sees that in you, they can never unsee it. That's why the temperature in the room changed. That's why their eyes widened before they forced them calm. That's why their voices cracked before they steadied them. That's why every heart pulsed like it forgot the rhythm it trained for all its life. It's because the real you surfaced for a moment. And the real you is dangerous, not because you want to hurt anyone, but because you can no longer be manipulated, misled, or mentally disarmed. You've crossed that line. That invisible threshold only a few ever cross. The point where your perception becomes a weapon. And not even you can put it down anymore. You weren't supposed to get there. They were counting on you staying soft, confused, grateful, obedient, apologetic. But instead you walked into the fire they lit for you, and walked out with clarity. Do you understand how horrifying that is to people who thrive in shadows? Do you understand the level of panic that hits a manipulator when the person they once underestimated suddenly sees straight through their architecture? They don't fear your words. They fear your vision. They fear your mind. They fear your memory. They fear the fact that you're connecting dots they didn't even know were on the paper. You weren't supposed to say that, because saying it confirmed their worst suspicion. You've become aware of the game, and once you see the game, once you see who's pulling strings, who's lying, who's scared, who's weak, who's pretending, who's threatened, who's envious, there is no going back. You can never re-enter the cage you broke out of, and that is why they treat you like a walking code red. Because a code red isn't about danger. It's about the loss of control. You are the loss of control. You're the variable they can't model, the anomaly they can't label, the revelation they can't unhear. You're the unpredictable piece in a system built on predictability. And unpredictable people are the most powerful species on Earth. Think about it. You said one sentence, a single truth, and it destabilized the atmosphere around you. Why? Because your truth didn't come from weakness. It didn't come from impulse. It didn't come from chaos. It came from composure. And composure is the scariest mask a powerful person can wear. You didn't shout. You didn't tremble. You didn't hesitate. You delivered the truth, like someone who's been holding it gently in their palm for months, waiting, watching, choosing the exact moment to drop it like a stone into still water, and witness the ripples expose everyone's reactions. You didn't just speak. You tested the room, and they know it. They know you were observing who flinched, who froze, who lied, who panicked, who acted confused, who looked guilty, who stared too long, who turned away too quickly. Your words weren't a slip. They were a mirror, and every guilty person saw themselves in it. That's what they can't forgive. Not the sentence, not the truth, not the moment. They can't forgive the fact that you saw them before they saw you saw them. Do you understand how psychologically destructive that is to people who rely on deception? You broke their timeline, shifted their narrative, ruined their script. Now every future move they make has to account for the possibility that you're 5 steps ahead. Because you have been, silently, consistently, fatally. You weren't supposed to say that, because it marked the moment you stopped playing along and started playing above. And now you walk into rooms where people act normal, but their eyes betray the truth. They don't know what you'll expose next. They don't know how much you've pieced together. They don't know if you're done speaking or just getting started. That uncertainty, that unpredictability, that silent threat disguised as intelligence. That's why they whisper code red, Because in every system, in every structure, in every psychological hierarchy, a code red doesn't mark a threat to safety. It marks the arrival of a force that cannot be controlled. And whether you realize it or not, you became that force the moment you spoke. And here's the chilling part, the part they'll never say out loud, but you can feel vibrating in the walls around you. It's not just that you spoke, it's that you spoke without fear. People can rationalize anything except fearlessness. Fearlessness disrupts their blueprint. Fearlessness rewrites their power map. Fearlessness forces them to confront the truth that you're operating from a level of inner stability they can't touch, can't mimic, can't dismantle. They can't predict someone who doesn't fear loss. They can't break someone who's already rebuilt themselves. They can't manipulate someone who's already tasted the cost of silence and refused to pay it again. You want to know the real reason they treat you like a code red? Because a code red doesn't mean danger. It means the threat is already inside the building. You are the variable they failed to calculate, the blade they left in the dark, the truth they hoped would stay dormant, the awakening they feared would come. They thought your silence meant obedience. But your silence was reconnaissance. You weren't quiet because you were scared. You were quiet because you were learning. And the moment you opened your mouth, they realized this wasn't luck. This wasn't impulse. This wasn't a slip. This was a declaration that you're no longer playing the role they wrote for you. A declaration that you see through every tactic they've ever used. A declaration that your mind is now a weapon sharp enough to cut through pretense, fear, hierarchy, illusion, and manipulation. And once a mind sharpens to that degree, there is no sheath that can hold it. So here you stand, not louder, not angrier, not armed with threats, but armed with awareness. And awareness is the one thing no one can strip away. They will adjust to you now. They will tiptoe around you. They will monitor their words in your presence. They will rehearse their expressions before speaking. They will wonder what you see, what you know, what you sense, and they will never be comfortable again. Because once someone like you wakes up, everyone who built their power on your blindness becomes exposed. You weren't supposed to say that, because saying it meant something irreversible happened inside you. You outgrew the version of yourself they could control. And now you walk with the weight of a secret they cannot decode. The secret that you've already survived worse than anything they can do. The secret that your silence is now a choice, not a cage. The secret that your truth is a scalpel, not a confession. The secret that your presence is a warning, not a request. So let them whisper, let them panic, let them reorganize themselves around the reality that you are no longer predictable, because the moment you spoke, the moment you broke the script, the moment you showed them exactly what you've become, they didn't mark you as dangerous. They marked you as awakened, and awakened people don't fear the system. The system fears them. So walk forward, calm, unbothered, untouchable. Because whether they admit it or not, whether they understand it or not, you wouldn't trigger a code red. You are the code red.